Hi there. Good morning from Grand Island, New York on the Upper Niagara. Cool weekend, but we're into the 80s today. Record stuff. I'm Mike Schopp. We have a party boat to discuss. What's better than a party boat? The market went down on Stefon Diggs, so to speak. Although just 7 months off an ACL tear, he was on the field running routes yesterday. There we go. There they are. Is he a value now?
I wasn't sure if you meant
Life happens bad. Oh, hang on, almost done. Risers. Fallers, who are the earliest drafted players our heroes will never pick. And another round of last call. We'll see if Pat's Patriots hype extends as far as Efton Chisholm III. Sounds like a guy for a Davis podcast. With our heroes, Pat Kerrane, Davis Maddock, fantasy football's most eligible bachelor, Jakob Sanderson. This is ADP Chasing, Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025.
In Underdog Best Ball, ADP is set by two separate yet equally important groups. Streamers that set the market and the slappies that chase it. These are their stories.
Were any lies told?
I'm actually the reason that Efton Chisholm is even in the player pool on Underdog. They released the player pool for the big board, and one of the guys in my Discord checked it compared to the PFF big board. Efton Chisholm was the only name missing. So if you have drafted Efton Chisholm, you have the Davis Maddock Discord to thank for that.
So I have you to blame.
You have me to blame.
What a name! Efton Chisholm. I mean, Efton Chisholm Davis is the Lan Larisons of whom? I mean, what a name. This is like peak name here season.
Efton Chisholm is the Lan Larison of Aaron Millett's.
I don't even know who Aaron Millett is.
It's before.
I think that works.
That's before.
Question for Pat: is that a hockey player? Let's ask Pat.
No. Aaron Millett was a Patriot, right?
No, he was a Raven.
Raven.
Okay. He went to Elon. He went to Elon University, which I believe is the same college that Mr. Josh Norris attended.
Think they're going to change their name these days, or
Davis is cooking right now.
We're off and running. North Carolina. Elon. Jakob, hopefully, no offense taken at the eligible bachelor.
No, I am eligible. So
so if you know someone,
I don't have. There's no tender on me. You can
No. If you guys know anybody.
Yeah, I gotta say, I don't think that the chat of ADP chasing is where I'm gonna find my.
Imagine if you met your girl through the chat of ADP chasing.
That would require there to be a girl who listens to ADP chasing. Pat.
Yeah, so you're
I mean, Nick and Steph.
I'd love to. I'd love to see the.
That's the entirety of our female listening base. Right.
You want a Venn diagram here, Davis? What do you want on this?
Well, no. Is there any? Because in YouTube Analytics, you can go down and you can get your breakdown of like where your audience is from, how old are they, what gender do they report as on their YouTube stuff, and I'd like to meet the first fantasy football content creator who doesn't have 99.9% male. I'd like to, because I know mine is 99.9%.
I was about to ask how much time you're spending on the gender tab, because I don't know there's that much time.
I know the Swolecast is 99.9. I know the Takecast is 99.9. I know Endgame Syndicate's 99.9. I'm going to guess Ship Chasing 99.9. So I'd like, do you think the footballers are so big that they're like 98.2%? That they have like 1%.
What do you think is the most woman-friendly fantasy football show?
It's got to be the Ballers, right? They're funny. They're super popular.
What about the women? I mean, Fantasy and Frames. I'm on with Stacy this week. Maybe it's the women. I don't know. I know at WGR, like all our ratings bonuses are tied to men, but we've been number one for like 15 years in a row, almost every book, and in the men. But when we get adults, I get excited. Like for me, because we have some much higher than 1% listenership that's women, and when that goes up, I'm sort of like, all right, now this is a good evidence for me that I'm doing the show I want to be doing, because yesterday we talked about a nudist colony, and I'm sorry this isn't about football yet. So you try to it's a different
not about hockey. So Pat's in on this.
Well, where was Stefon Diggs? So it might be. We gotta.
Yeah.
Ron said his lifetime is 98.4%. So
That's pretty good, Ron.
shout out to Ron.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's like,
honestly.
damn, dude.
Let's go.
Yeah. I'm impressed.
Well, wait,
Speaking-
sorry. Is that Ron's YouTube stats, or is he just saying that his life is 98% male? I took
That's
that
an
as
important
just that,
distinction.
that Ron's existence is just 98.4% greasy New Jersey men outside of MetLife,
In real life, that's deeply sad, but on YouTube,
and the other 1.6% is Mother Stewart.
You know, Jacob is going to meet a woman that doesn't watch every week.
I haven't met a single one yet in my entire life.
Going to meet a woman who isn't in the Discord, right? Thank God, but is familiar with his work. I think I've seen you, so I think that's my prediction.
If I went on a date with a woman and she was like, "Yeah, I actually subscribe to Thinking About Thinking," I'm immediately buying a ring.
Yeah.
So,
How about the other way there?
At R, it was really bad because my mic wasn't plugged in, but now it is. So, thanks for that.
Okay.
Kat.
it sounded fine. I thought.
Pat's in New York today. Jacob doing good work by our first slide, apparently as Stefon Diggs' counsel on the. I'm not sure if you're just on the boat, or you're actually trying to get his attention so you can tell him what not to do in the next 5 seconds.
Jacob has a drink. I
It
think
is
it looks
alarming.
like
That's from a video. That's not even from a photo. So someone went to my Instagram, found a video, paused it, and then like cut me out with the magic lasso.
Amazing.
You guys have top-notch work.
That's Zach. You know,
That's Zach. Yeah, that was that person.
No one puts in more work than Zach.
So good.
No.
Did you notice us in the portholes here?
The faces, yes, they're so good.
Yeah.
What's happening here? We are not allowed at the top.
Yeah, why aren't we allowed on deck?
We're not.
Yeah.
We're in party boat steerage.
Unfortunately, Ronald, now that I've been retained as counsel to Monsieur Diggs, I can't speculate at all on what the pink substance is. At this point, it's the state's case to make, and my client is innocent until proven guilty.
I'm in the porthole. I'm down below. I'm talking to Davis and
it's my YouTube chat told me it's like a new street drug called 2C.
2CB.
Which apparently has methamphetamines in it.
That's interesting. I have a friend back in California who is what they call California sober, which is very different than sober.
Ayahuasca only.
It's no alcohol, but a lot of house music that comes along with other things. And I showed him the video, and he instantly said that's 2CB, which is apparently not even illegal because it's experimental. It's one of these things where they're able to change the structure, so it's like they can't outlaw it because they change it too much or something.
It's beta.
Yeah, it's in beta.
Drug.
But yeah, apparently it's 2CB. It's like the effects apparently are a mix between cocaine and Molly, kind of. No, not cocaine.
Oh,
between Molly and LSD. I'm sorry. So it's like a somewhat hallucinogenic and also like euphoric. Yeah.
Is this
my experience in the Vancouver house scene is correct? Anything that's popular in California now will make it up here in like 3 to 5 years. So I'm sure the cool people are already doing it, and it'll make its way to my shores in 2 to 3 years.
Is this completely dead irrelevant to the upcoming NFL season?
No.
This still matters.
Yeah, it's relevant because it does. Famously on this show, I've said I'm pro diva behavior for my wide receivers. Right? I want Xavier Legette to be showing up and saying, "Throw me the damn ball" to Bryce Young. But what is interesting is we've already gotten now the rift between Stefon Diggs and Patriots media. So that can go a lot of directions, right?
I mean, I don't think he's going to get cut or suspended. Like, I think that risk is really low, isn't it?
No, he's not.
Yeah, that's
what is the risk? Is the risk just that like this is a signal that he took the biggest payday he could and has no intention of taking football very seriously?
No, I think it's more that you would hope that he shows up and is like super locked in and like running routes after practice with Drake May, like being a good veteran mentor. And I think it shows. Like, I mean, he's just gonna show up and want to get his numbers. That's
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah. I think it shows that there's risk that he and Vrabel are not going to mesh. I mean, this boat thing, was that during the first day of OTAs or was around? He didn't show up at first. So
1 week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I don't know. I
he's
think it's
I don't think Vrabel was very happy.
no.
He's on the field yesterday
He was
running
mostly
routes.
not happy that it got caught on. Like, this is always what I assume Stefon Diggs is up to. It's just that
My
someone
internet's
forgot to put their
taking-
phone in a bowl.
So no, I disagree. We've lived Stefon Diggs. I think it's the opposite. I think it's like the cameras are rolling and let's go. This is for my ego. This is like all the different cryptic ways he described his experience in Buffalo, and he would never say it never seemed genuine. I think he's a con man. I think he's somebody that I have the day off. I'm here. I'm at $20+ million a year. I'm going on this boat. I mean, look at the boat. Look at the scene. Maybe you'd go too if you didn't have to go to work. Everybody else is at work. Yesterday, 7 months off an ACL tear, he's on the field running routes, and that gives him. He does enough of that. Gives him the credibility, I guess, to say like, what do you mean? I'm doing the work. I'm not even supposed to be here yet. I'm off. I'm not even supposed to be healthy yet. And look at, I mean, the clips are pretty good. If you didn't have the boat, you didn't care about the boat, you'd love what you saw yesterday. And if you got him in the 7th round, you'd be elated, I think.
I'll say I have drafted Stefon Diggs more times in the last 3 days than I had before that point, because I moved him. I actually think based on moving other guys down, Diggs is relatively higher in my rankings, actually, because I moved some other guys around. But mostly, I think this is likely a nothing burger. And I mean, you guys know me. I just kind of a market-based drafter, just kind of trying to get it in good price-wise where I can. Like I was doing one this morning, got him in the 8th round. Like eighth round Diggs, sure. Why not?
I guess. I don't know. My issue with Diggs, I'm kind of happy this happened because I would like to have more. I'd like to have a wider ring on my Drake May Jakob tree, and I hadn't really been doing any Diggs previously because
For sure.
not because he's a cokehead, but because he is 32 and in decline and coming off an ACL tear. We were drafting him in like the beginning of the 7th round for some reason. So all of my May stacks are basically with like Kyle Williams, Hunter Henry, and Travion Henderson. So it would have been nice.
That's how you get it started.
Yeah. So it would have been nice or will be nice to hopefully mix some Diggs into that. I think I need him in I want him to be in the same range as like Michael Pittman and the rookies to be like particularly excited about.
Well, that's not gonna happen.
That's kind of where he was going though in the big board. I thought his rise up into the 7th was a little surprising. Like given, he's coming off an ACL tear and he's pretty old. Like
But he landed.
The recovery is going pretty well. There's a ton of targets available.
He landed in a place where he can get 160 targets, though, which was why he was going later in the big board, because there was a chance that he went the way of Amari Cooper and DeAndre Hopkins, and we got the clear answer that the market viewed him differently than those guys.
Did the market view him differently, or did the New England Patriots view him differently?
Well, we all like
best offer for Stefon Diggs in free agency.
We all like May. If we were, if we were not May boys, like if we were like, May, right. Whatever, he's fine. We'd be like, all right, we're happy to not take him. But because we believe in May, it's different.
Let me read out my New England Patriots exposures. Hunter Henry, 26%. Drake May, 24%. Kyle Williams, 22%. And then Travion Henderson, 18%. And then you scroll all the way down, Stefon Diggs, 1%. So, you don't need to include Stefon Diggs in your Drake May bags if you don't want to.
Diggs was also going around 100 after he signed with the Patriots. He didn't have this big rise. It took a while for the Patriots rise to occur, if I'm remembering right.
I have two things to add. One, I'm not sure we've seen decline yet from Diggs. I think he might be 31. And isn't he sort of the body type and the player type where you would push off that possibility more than if he was bigger? You know, like it's the bigger guys who die quicker, maybe at receiver. So
well, we have
if you
seen
die,
him
you die.
We have seen him drop off because his best ever season was basically his final year in Buffalo and his first year in Buffalo. Those were the only two, or he had 2.49 yards per route run in those 2 seasons, 1.89 his last year in Buffalo, 1.84 last year. So we've definitely seen Diggs go from clearly one of the 5 or 8 best wide receivers in the NFL to like, you know what I would kind of comp him to? I would comp him right now to like post Black Marble Larry Fitzgerald, where Fitzgerald actually came back around. Remember, Fitzgerald had his Black Marble season in 2012, but then like reinvented himself and had a 109 reception season in 2015. I would actually really compare it to that, where it's like,
I think that's
you could
fair.
you could tell me anything from he gets out targeted by Kyle Williams like easily, or he has 100 receptions. Like I would actually believe either thing.
Davis is totally right. First of all, I apologize on the age. He turns 32 in season, but not until late in the season. So he will be 31 for most of the season. But if you believe that week 17 is all that matters, he will be 32 in week 17.
Yes.
The target earning has not gone away. Like he still earned a ton of targets in 2023 in Buffalo. Less so against better target competition, but was still a really good target earner last year in Houston. But the downfield stuff is pretty toast. Like he used to be a true 3-level receiver at his peak.
Yeah, that is over, I think.
And in Minnesota. And like, you know, his 2022 Bills to 2023 Bills, the big difference was like, even though his target per route was still the exact same, his efficiency crashed, and that was because he just was not creating anything down the field. And then we saw last year, the Texans kind of, I think, correctly scouted him and used him in a very low ADOT possession chain moving role, which is, I think, the best way to use him right now. To Davis's point, like that's kind of how Larry Fitzgerald was recreated under Bruce Arians. Was like, okay, we're going to use, who was it? It was Michael Floyd. And they had another guy, Smokey Brown. Smokey Brown and Michael Floyd were kind of the outside wide receivers, and Larry Fitzgerald was just a chain mover at that point. I think that's what Diggs is. Like he might have 90 catches, but those 90 catches are probably going for 962 yards at this point.
And they're 65 in the first 10 weeks and 25 toward the end. The second point I was going to make about those 2 Bills years is that the production really tailed off late, including the playoffs. And in 23, it's tied to the change at offensive coordinator. The Bills were 6-6. They fired Ken Dorsey, brought in Joe Brady, and just ran the ball all the time. And that was it for Diggs. They could have used him against Kansas City in the playoff game in Buffalo, Davis, when he dropped a bomb on that first play of the last drive. And really, like, Allen was 6 for 6 on that last drive of the season, as it turns out, for Buffalo, but 0 for 3 passing to Diggs. So 6 for 9
right
overall. Like late in the season in playoffs, he went away, which is part of why they dumped him. And if that's all that matters in these things, that's not great for, you know, his value.
It's tough. Larry Fitzgerald never tore his ACL. So it reminds me a little bit of Odell Beckham, where you had him go to the Rams and had him in a different role. He was much more of a possession receiver with the Rams, but was effective and was someone that they, in the Super Bowl looked like he was going to be a big part of what they were doing. And then he tears his ACL right in that game. And then he comes back for the Ravens and it's just over.
It's just over.
Like, yeah, like that's the risk really. And then if you've got a guy who's like, imagine Odell Beckham on the Ravens, that style, that quality, plus the coach is really pissed off at you because you were partying on a boat when you're supposed to be preparing for the season. It could get ugly. Like, I do really think
that's the other Odell comparison.
Yeah. There's also there's a Beckham boat too. Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
Baby here.
Pat's the anti-Diggs, just wholesomely playing with his child.
I got to get my son down here now.
Vrabel would love you.
Vrabel and I are going to be boys.
Well, Vrabel knows what he can't control, and voluntary is voluntary. And, again, does yesterday matter for Diggs? I think my main takeaway is like what I've seen in Buffalo and then the injury, which is like, I think late in the season, he's probably not going to matter. But you have teams you build where you might need the first 10 weeks, and then he has, he's useful.
I mean, how much Kyle Williams are you guys drafting? Because I've been taking like more than I thought I would, partially because I constantly. Okay, Davis, like, get a life, bro.
Somewhere in that 8.2, 8.3 range.
I'm gonna fucking come to whatever like podunk town you live in Missouri and strangle you by the end of the summer. I would say I would do it in Vegas, but one, I'm pretty sure I'm at a wedding, and two, I know that there's no chance of you being there.
Literally less than zero. Let's actually, this is actually be a good bit.
Would you say there's an 8.3% chance he'll be in Vegas?
No, that seems high. All right, 173 completed drafts, 10.1% Kyle Williams. So I'm a bull.
What is the percentage of your most drafted player in those drafts?
I think you just said it.
23.3% on Byshell Tootin.
Ooh.
Oh, nice. Look at that.
Slappy never changes its stripes.
Are you doing pre-draft and current combined?
No, there's no. Well, I'd have to.
I'm at 22% Kyle Williams.
You're just doing like
that's what I'm talking
current
about.
Yeah,
Davis.
Yeah,
I look forward to I'm in 50 puppy slows that are in probably a median of like round 12 right now, and I look forward to all of those finishing because I feel like I've just been drafting the same team 50 times.
Me too.
Let me tell you, that is a slippery slope to be doing the slow drafts and feel like you're just drafting the same team every time. I found myself doing in these slow because I was doing the same thing of truly being like, dude, I just cannot take a 49er on this team. You just end up taking like just literally you just have to pretend the 49ers don't exist. Because I was just taking a 49er like every time.
The Tootin victory laps, by the way, like in week 12, like I'm gonna be, it'll be unbecoming if Byshell Tootin.
I don't think
season. Like,
I don't think
I'm already so furious.
Like you're on your Twitter furious
away on Twitter, and like the YouTube comments are already rolling here at 7:26 in the morning. Like I don't understand like how we go through this same thing every single year. There's an ambiguous backfield. There is some veteran. There is some upside option. Sometimes the veteran wins. Usually, I'll give like James Conner in 2021 is one that comes to mind as a veteran who won and then won in a way that mattered a lot.
You know what though? I think he was also an upside option. He wasn't like he had previously been good. Everyone was writing him off because he had fallen off. But he's going against Chase Edmonds, who was not good.
Sure, I'm saying like, if you want to make the case for Travis Etienne, like I think there's something to be said for the Connor.
He's a Connor-esque pick, yeah.
But like a lot of the times, what happens is either it's like the Bears in 2023, which is like no one really wins. Like there's different winners at different times, but nothing really happens. The Chargers last year, Dobbins wins, but like ultimately, did he matter in week 15 to 17? Like I don't really think he did.
No.
But it's like if you look at the biggest winners, like it's like there's a lot of young, unproven players who typically don't look like they're going to be winners in week 1, get declared dead. People declare them dead throughout the summer because of dumb reports. And then, like, sure enough, you wake up and it's like week 6, week 10, week 15, and you're really, really pumped to have these guys in your lineup from Achane to Chase Brown to Rico Dowdle to Bucky Irving to whatever. And then every year we do the same thing again, where it's like the same people every year. Like, no, it can never happen. He fumbles. It's a rookie. You know, people are citing to me Will Shipley's hit rates on Twitter. So yeah, I'm very, very tilted.
Jacob,
I'll continue to draft Byshell Tootin.
It's a great point. I think, from a sort of media standpoint, it stems from the coaches and the symbiosis from the coaches to certain beat guys that I think you're sort of lumping together. Maybe they're older and that would say those things that would sort of be old school about what matters and what doesn't. The coach wants to slow the rookie hype down as hard as he can. Like that's almost always true. Think of quarterbacks. Like, well, Cam Ward is splitting reps with whoever. Like, it's just they always sort of slow play the rookie evolution. And if you really adhere to that, that's where you end up. And if you take your cues from those reporters, whoever you mean, I think that's basically like listening to the coach. And that's not the coach's real position. That's just his public position, which he does for his own interests with his veteran players, right? As I'm sure you know, like we have to make sure the rookies earn their opportunity. So see through that, and you're where you are.
That is so true, man. You literally Schopp could just like not be more correct about that.
Yeah.
That I like they're gonna do this. They're gonna do this with Genty. Like at some point, the Raiders coaching staff is going to say, well, you know, Raheem Mostert's been in the league a long time, and we really like what Sincere McCormick did for the team last year. And hey, don't forget about Zamir White, right?
Raheem Mostert's been in the league a long time. It's such a funny thing to say.
Can I just put my hand up and say that I don't have 0% Raheem Mostert?
Me neither.
Yeah, I've drafted
led the league in touchdowns 2 years ago.
Yeah. I think I've drafted him once.
Like, you draft enough Brock Bowers, and then you wind up drafting Jonnu Smith, and you get to round 18, you're like, what running back do I add on? And you're like, oh, well.
Yeah, but the point is that we just like know this is going to happen. Guess what? The Patriots are going to do this with Travion Henderson. The Browns are going to do this with Quinshon Judkins. Who else am I? RJ Harvey, right? I've been saying this. I've been saying this all offseason. Like, you ask Sean Payton who his starting running back is. He's not just giving you a straight answer about RJ Harvey. Like, we don't need to be like, yeah, dude. Well, I mean, obviously, rookie running back X is dead because he didn't get the first carry in June 3rd OTAs.
Yeah.
Hampton. Hampton is the most obvious one.
Yeah.
Harbaugh is going to give a Shakespeare-esque soliloquy. He's going to sound like frickin' Hamlet talking about how good of an impact Najee Harris is going to have on the team. He is going to make Najee Harris seem as if he is Eric Dickerson the first time he gets asked about Najee Harris.
From Hamlet to Hampton.
And then at the end of the season, it will not be.
Yes, but right. Yeah. When Brian Schottenheimer gets asked about Javonte Williams's effort at Cowboys OTAs, will he faint before he gets done praising him? Right.
There will be tears in the room.
There will be tears. No. Yes.
I guess in this scenario, you'd want Najee to be Hamlet, and you'd want Hampton to be Fortinbras, right? Because you'd want him to actually emerge at the end.
Well, I mean, Hamlet he emerges in a way, right?
He dies,
right? But he lives his truth, though.
Moving forward, Pat made an honest effort to put
who's Quentin Johnson, like Yorick?
Quentin Johnson is Yorick. Yeah. Alas, we knew him well, but his time is past. His death happened off stage, actually.
Okay.
When they drafted
Kamani Vidal is definitely Polonius.
Kamani Vidal is even further than that. Kamani Vidal is Hamlet's dad. He dies. Okay. He dies 10 years before what we're doing. Like the characters have all been set in a completely different time period, right?
Sorry, Teach, but I didn't know we were studying this today. I didn't know this was going to be on the test.
SF Doom just said, I wonder why Jakob is single.
Can I?
Shakespeare in the Park or the ADP Chasing Discord? Who can
you get a
say
theater
which is
minor
better?
and an English major on the show, and we're going to derail it.
And my dad
made an honest effort to move us ahead with
Trey Harris,
the move to the risers slide.
Well, I wanted to get us back to one thing real quick, because there were some comments about the ambiguous backfield stuff. He said people are missing the point. It's anywhere from 10 to 33%, but when it happens, it's a huge win. I think it's more than 10 to 33% is part of the thing as well. But I agree with the sentiment. Brett saying Josh Jacobs has never been efficient. He's playing the Hall of Fame game. You know, it's kind of our bias against veterans. That's one where I want to just note that, like, that's a different bias that we have. Like, where Jacobs we're competing with anyone. We just weren't really we were just like, he's too gross to draft. That's what we did with Kamara last year too.
Right.
That's a different thing. I think when there's actually when we talk about how to parse this rookie stuff, this is a new regime. They've gotten rid of a bunch of the old guys for kind of no reason. Like Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, I'm kind of still unclear why they moved on so readily from those guys, but they're like, get out of here, get out of here. And then they bring in a running back. Yeah, Davis, although I think it might have been medical.
Well, that's pretty clear.
Physical, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
then that one made sense. And they bring in Tootin, who, in this running back class, I feel like an early 4th round pick is, maybe more of a 3rd in spirit. And then they they've got Etienne's coming off a really bad year, and they've talked him up as this explosive element. It's not to say it's definitely going to happen, but this is like, sometimes it feels like we're grasping at straws to figure out how these veteran running backs aren't going to work out. Yeah. This is very different. This is an upside profile that we were excited about before the draft that lands in a situation where he could easily emerge. It's much, much more similar to like a Bucky Irving last year, maybe even a better situation.
The year previous to the Josh Jacobs Hall of Fame game year, he was on a team that made the playoffs, and Jacobs had like 90% of the snaps in the wild card game and had like 25 touches. Like he was the clear lead back. They drafted Zamir White, who no one really liked.
Different coach
regime, but like Jacobs had never been anything but the clear starter for the Raiders prior. And then we kind of invented a running back controversy out of whole cloth.
Right.
Travis Etienne was in a full-on committee last year with Tank Bigsby. So like, had they never drafted Byshal Tootin or anyone, it would still be an ambiguous backfield. We would be like, what is going to be the breakdown between Etienne and Bigsby? So like Etienne's kind of already lost whatever role he had 2 years ago. Maybe it gets restored under a new coaching staff. It's possible, but it's not like he's this entrenched 80% snap rate guy anymore. Like this, it would be very different if this was like last year and they had drafted Tootin and he had to overtake someone. There's kind of nothing to overtake. It's already a split backfield with a new staff, and they're just going to determine what it's going to be in season.
Shout out to Rich Bisaccia, who probably will go to his grave as a 58% winner as a head coach in the NFL from that first half Raiders team you're talking about. Risers, ready?
Let's do it.
Very ready.
Rashee Rice.
Rashee Rice, because I've been drafting a lot lately. I can take responsibility for that one.
I think that I think we have Rashee Rice as the clear leader in the clubhouse for most, like, maybe not the most slappy pick, but the player that the slappies are most in agreement on. There's no slappy who will come to the stage and be like, you know who I don't love this year? Rashee Rice. He is the slap poster boy.
If he was going right after Ladd McConkey, I would still take him.
That's where he should go.
I think he should go like in the middle of the second round.
21.
Yeah.
Well, he's up against whom? I mean, it's JSN, McLaurin, Jacobs.
I think he's a much better. Like I have him. I'm trying to allow the market some impact on my rankings, so I only have him ranked like 24, 25 or whatever. I would boost that if I needed to. But I think like he should be ahead of Garrett Wilson. I think he should be ahead of T. Higgins. And I think he should be in the mix with like, maybe doesn't need to be ahead of them, but like he should be going with like Jonathan Taylor and Bucky Irving right behind the Ladd AJ Brown mini tier. Personally, like all we're getting from the medical community, I don't know anything about medical, so like don't ask me my opinion on the LCL, but everything that I've seen from the people who do study this is like, this is not an ACL. It's different. There's a different timeline. It has different expectations when you return. And everything we've heard from the team is he's a full go already. It's June. So I don't really have a reason to think he's not going to be a full go in week one. He's not going to get suspended, apparently. So it's kind of like, all right, we have this guy who had this awesome rookie season, came out, got drastically better in a very small sample last season, was like pacing to compete for wide receiver 1 overall. And then, yeah, like Worthy was good, but he wasn't that good. And the biggest threat to Kelsey's role to me was Kelsey, because that's the guy who exists in the same areas of the field, the intermediate over the middle, and he fell off in a big way last year. So I think there's plenty of room for him and Worthy to coexist. And I think Rice is like, he's going to be a target dominant player. He should be going in the second round. I think he's a massive value.
Hamlet, sure, but don't ask Jacob to define a sprained ankle. So does Rice, does his his position here affect how we start drafts? I mean, we're talking about that Lamb, Gibbs, or Bijan or Jefferson decision. Pat, you've said, I've been thinking of you, hearing you when drafting, like you just want that wide receiver in round one. Does Rice matter in how you calculate that?
No, right?
Is Pat stuck? Or is the question just
Pat
that
might
hard?
be stuck.
I think Pat
Pat is stuck.
might be stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what, Davis? You go, and Rice is Denver, which is a different kind of stack too. But you pick him. I love getting him at like 26.
Sorry, my internet's being a real problem right now. So if you're trying to throw something to me, I just didn't hear at all what you were saying.
just wondering if Rice's value, if you want him at 21 and you can get him at 28, does he affect how you start drafts? Are you sooner to draft like Gibbs at 5 if you're going to try to take advantage of Rice if you're getting like the 104 or 105?
I think he makes drafting Gibbs a little easier. I'm not sure I would specifically go to a running back before, like 3 receiver starts are pretty nice. But I do like McBride a lot. So and I do, the first round running backs do have a ton of upside. So it's just nice to have him there, I guess is the answer. But yeah, I'm pretty aggressively trying to target Rice right now in anywhere in the third I can get him.
He's been a big target for me too. Like I didn't read Pat's article, but I listened to Pat's article. The audio.
I'd like a ruling on how to say that, by the way. All these books I'm reading that I'm actually listening to. I mean, what you guys tell me you're younger.
I read Pat's audio book on his draft plan.
I'm a believer that information can be conveyed in multiple different ways and all are valid. So audiobooks are books.
Yeah.
I
mean, they aren't really, but we can't tell ourselves that.
And I've been doing this, like I said.
I honestly think I pay more attention when I'm listening.
For sure.
Me too.
For sure,
Me too. Definitely.
And I've been doing all these puppy slows. And so it's like I've been feeling this anyway, just doing the drafts and looking at my ranks, but you really, really feel it when you're doing like 50 plus slow drafts simultaneously and you're getting all the picks in the same ranges over and over and over again. And like, historically, I'm not exactly a running back slappy, but I constantly find myself like if I'm trying to draft off of my rankings, who I think are the best picks in a vacuum, which is kind of what I tried to do with these puppies, is like not think structure first, try to just think players first, and then find out how I feel later in the draft based on what players I like earlier. Like it's almost like I'm using them as a guinea pig to kind of tell me what I'm not liking when I draft off of vibes. And what I'm not liking is like how many of my teams, Jaden Reed is my wide receiver 3 or Ricky Pearsall is my wide receiver 3, because I really want to click Bowers. I really want to click Kittle. And then, like that range of round, basically from Breece Hall through to like round 7, I almost always prefer the running back. Like the only wide receivers I really like at cost in that range. I love Olave at cost. I love Pickens at cost. There's some other ones that I like, okay. But for the most part, it's like I want to click Breece every time at 3-4 turn. I don't actually click a ton of them, but I like Hampton at cost. I love that run of Harvey and Walker, and I kind of like Chuba too. I think Henderson's a massive target. And I'm even pretty into Judkins at cost, even though I didn't really like him from a dynasty perspective, but I like him a lot in the 7th.
Then it's Pollard and Swift.
That's when I get a little bit off the train, but I do think those guys are good picks. And it's more just those are guys I'm willing to sacrifice to get back on track at receiver.
Okay.
But to bring it back to Rice, like, that's why, like, if need be, I kind of would be willing to click him over Taylor and Bucky. I like Taylor and Bucky more in a vacuum, but if I needed to click Rice, like the 2v2s, I think that the running back, all of the running back bros are like pretty unequivocally right that they project better than the wide receivers at virtually every pick in the first half of drafts. But just naturally, like if wide receivers are being drafted at a way higher clip than running backs, and if you just think about it as like these 2 diagonal lines on a graph, the delta is just going to get wider and wider and wider until you run out of starting running backs. So you may as well click the wide receivers earlier when the delta is much smaller, and then give yourself an opportunity to draft the running backs a little bit later. I think the thing that
Love
I'm not as into this year and haven't done as much is like the pure 0 RB drafts. I mean, I think you can, but I just haven't really found myself wanting to click that many wide receivers in a row very often. But I definitely think it's taking the wide receivers in the first couple of picks to give yourself the freedom to just click a lot of those running backs is generally made me happier.
Well, I think you're also, when you think about what pure 0 running back looks like, what do the wide receiver, that you get in like the late 4th or the early 5th look like? Because one of the things that's happening, in addition to the wide receivers going up in general, is that we're like pricing the archetypes differently. So when you get to the 5th round, maybe on DraftKings, you're looking at Ted McMillan, but on Underdog, you're not. And that's the type of guy that actually could make a difference to a 3 wide receiver start, because you get to the end of the season and now he's actually better than the guy you drafted ahead of him. And you've got that upside profile that you're tacking on. Hunter, you could make the same case for, but like generally when you're talking about like a 5th round receiver, it's more of a steady Eddie Calvin Ridley kind of type. So it's like less. If you're just doing that, why aren't you taking the running back? If you're just taking, hey, this guy projects pretty well, then take the running back. You don't have any of those,
Right.
So it makes it harder. It's the type of profiles available as well, because when you think, okay, I want to add more upside to this 3x wide receiver start, well, like, why don't you wait for, Luther Burden or Emeka Ibuka? Those guys are going way past the running backs generally. I mean, not all of them, but I mean, frankly, on DraftKings, they are. Golden. Yeah, exactly. Like those guys are going kind of more in line with the Swifts and the Pollards. So if you take care of running back in round, 4, 5, whatever, then you actually buy yourself that extra little upside shot with a Jaden Reed or rookie. There's some interesting profiles once you get back into like the 70s, 80s.
They're really interesting
and Michael
profiles.
Pittman, if you need like just volume,
Michael
or Darnell
Pittman,
Mooney, like
Josh Downs,
Pittman and Mooney and Downs are not that different in half PPR scoring.
No, those guys,
like
those
Sutton
guys
and
are
Ridley.
the
like they're not that
those
different.
guys.
They're worse, but they're not that different.
I think they're
not
pretty
that different.
terrible. I think it's pretty
Pittman?
clear. Just like Mooney, Burden. I'm not saying any of them specifically.
Well, they're different bets, but like the Burden, Ibuka.
I don't see how Burden's a pretty
Jaden
terrible
Higgins
pick where he's
group.
going. Burden has
I mean,
a lot of upside.
Yeah.
Okay. None of them are terrible picks in a vacuum in my slappy brain. But like, if we get to the end of the year and Darnell Mooney has 613 yards and 2 touchdowns, Luther Burden missed 4 games with a hamstring injury. The Bears play a ton of 12. Emeka Ibuka is like chopping and changing routes. Like it's week 7. He's running 52% of the routes. Like none of these things are all that surprising. Meanwhile, you've got
How many
Aaron
yards
Jones,
do you think Darnell Mooney
Swift,
had last year?
Pollard.
To guess.
Like 1,003 with 400 of them coming against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, you're 11 off. So that's pretty darn good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Davis, like the running backs.
So I think there's a huge tier break after Nico and BTJ go to London, even to AJ Brown, even to Ladd. So I think there's like it's like a cavern, a cliff, if you will. Then I think there's another huge tier break after Adams and Worthy and Mike Evans at wide receiver 2021. I think there's a gigantic tier break there to the next range. Then you've got from like Jamison Williams to Ricky Pearsall, you have a bunch of dudes. You have a bunch of dudes who are going to project for like a 9.8 half PPR points per game. So I think weirdly, this is kind of a year for the what would Hayden call it? Like kind of like later modified bimodal RB where you start with
John Paulson is just punching the wall.
That
right
sounds
now.
Shakespearean. Actually.
Modified bimodal 0 RB.
That's straight from A Midsummer Night's Dream, I believe.
Where you're taking a lot. you're taking a lot of Amari and Hampton. You're taking a lot of Harvey, a lot of Mixon, a lot of Hubbard, a lot of Travion Henderson.
Hyper dead zone is my
hyper dead zone
So,
is kind of.
you know what?
I'm
This
building
is what
hyper
I'm saying.
dead zone teams.
What I'm saying is that the dead zone is actually the live zone. What I'm saying is that because Slappies are
Target
so
zone.
reticent now to value projected points at running back, like Joe Mixon after the season he did last year in Best Ball Mania 2, he would have been a 2nd round pick. Chuba Hubbard would have been a 3rd round pick. James Conner in 2015 might have been a 1-2 turn pick, right?
You know what it's like? It's like Dynasty. You know how in Dynasty, like these veterans, they have to have great seasons just to hold value. We've turned the best ball market into that, where James Conner just delivered like an incredible season for his value, and we're like, great, do it again.
Yeah.
How about James Cook in this context? What does James Cook have to do? 18 touchdowns in the regular season.
Do it again.
Well,
again.
James
Do it
Cook,
again.
I think
We don't believe you.
Liam isn't here, so I can at least say this. But like James Cook is clearly the worst profile of any running back going in the top 100 picks.
I have.
I'm
we're gonna get to the
super out on
raunchy
Cook,
picks.
actually.
I have a 0% James Cook. Now I have a 0% of half the players in the field, but James Cook is in that group. Yeah.
I hope we get to that. Let me just read the names on the risers before time expires.
We've covered
Leggett,
one of them, and it's 46 minutes in, so I think we're doing well.
Rashee Rice.
No, we got
Xavier Leggett
as well.
Dyami Brown, Ray Davis. That's probably a reaction to Cook maybe holding out. We'll see next week. Next week is the mandatory. Not expected to be here, I think, for that. I'll explain if you want me to. Jarquez Hunter, Michael Pittman, Isaiah Pacheco, J.K. Dobbins, and Patriots receiver Kyle Williams at the bottom. I just think the Cook thing is...
just real quick on Kyle Williams. Got to get the hype out there. I don't know if we talked about on the show. Apparently, he made his presence felt. This was from like a week ago.
I've been feeling this presence.
During the first practice of OTAs. And who's especially involved running routes outside the numbers. I would just like to note that he's already exceeded Roman Wilson's hype pieces from last year.
Well,
so
he has
that's good.
The great advantage of not being Stefon Diggs, not being on that boat. I mean, that's a big leg up with the reporters.
He's also literally the only wide receiver that I'm interested in clicking from like basically when Luther Burden goes off the board until I'm legally allowed to draft Pat Bryant.
Yeah.
Pat Bryant, huh? We're still doing that?
Yes.
Oh,
he's a great pick. It's a great
I love
pick.
that, I love that everyone, I don't have one. I draft all the rookies, but I love that like you have Pat Bryant and Pete has Jack Bash, and there's just like one rookie for each of you that you're like, nope. Not doing this like over my dead body.
Hold on. Let's check the Pat Bryant. Guess my Pat Bryant exposure.
7.3%.
Four.
6.9.
Oh wow,
nice.
What a fade.
I win. You guys went over. I win.
Anyone want to know my Pat Bryant exposure?
27.
20. No, it's high. It's got to be like 32.
Davis, want to guess?
26.7.
Winner goes to Pat, 34.
Damn.
What's your highest number for any player?
That bummed Davis out.
Mine is 47%.
You beat me. My highest for any player currently is Breece Hall, 38%.
Man, that's good when it's early like that. I'm at 47% Marshawn Lloyd. I can't even really defend or explain it.
Oh,
Mike.
That hurts.
He got the report of Lloyd being on the rehab field, and he was like, I'm gonna have to go to Canada. I gotta get out of here, man. They're looking for me.
Well, I am in Canada all the time, so you got that part right. Does Pittman make sense as a riser?
Yes, it does. I look, never been on Michael Pittman in my entire life. Not a Michael Pittman fan generally. But yeah, I don't get what's going on with the Colts wide receiver pricing. I mean, I understand it. Like, there's the fear of A-Rich. Pat said it best on one of the shows. Maybe it was this one or a different one I listened to. But like, realistically, either Anthony Richardson is going to play at a better level than he's played to this point in his NFL career, or he is going to not play. Those are the only two options for the quarterback situation. And if Jones plays, which I think he's going to, maybe not week one, but I think week 1. He's going to be fine enough at completing the ball in the short and intermediate areas of the field. And you're getting 2 guys in Downs and Pittman who have shown over sustained samples that they can be 25% plus targets per route run guys. And they're going in a range with backup / timeshare running backs, rookie wide receivers who are probably 3rd in line on their teams in week 1. And like I said, like if you're looking at the 2v2s, to draft a Calvin Ridley or Cortland Sutton, you're bypassing very high-end ceiling rookie running backs in like Harvey, Hampton, Henderson, or like kind of second-tier workhorses like a Chuba, Ken Walker, Joe Mixon. To draft Downs and Pittman, you're bypassing at running back like Jordan Mason, Jalen Warren, Cam Scatteraboo, or veterans that are like very red flaggy, Isaiah Pacheco, DeAndre Swift, etc. So like to me, that 2v2 is just pretty obvious that you want to tack on a Pittman.
Especially in best ball, with the downside of that running back group could really bite you later.
Yeah,
Brian Robinson
like, I think that they're just massive values. Like to me, like anytime you're running low on wide receivers, it's like if I start wide receiver heavy and I have a lot of upside, it's like, all right, I'll chase the dragon. I'll take like an Ibuka or something. But if I need some stability at wide receiver, Michael Pittman is like a fucking lighthouse in the 8th, 9th round where I can just go grab a guy who I know is going to run every route. He's going to earn a target on 24% of them. Like absolutely slide right in there.
We talked about his back just isn't broken.
So he had a fracture in his back that didn't require surgery, and he played through it. That I think is just kind of a discount that we get. That's like a last year was icky discount mostly. I think. I mean, it's not like he had back surgery.
He was okay though at the end of the year too. Like he was really bad in the middle of the year, and then he kind of felt like he was getting a little bit better. And I don't know. I don't think there's any reason to be concerned about him this year.
I also, Pittman was the guy I picked on ship chasing as my riser, and so thank you for helping him rise to everybody. But like, I have never been in on Pittman, and so I'm pretty sure there's no bias working here for me. I'm just like, this guy seems really underpriced, and I don't like it, but I'm willing to take him for sure. I mean, in some ways, I'm dependent on him. When you take these running backs in those middle rounds, I just wanted to note there with those builds where we have a bunch of running backs, like, in round 4, 5, 6, 7, that kind of range. The beautiful thing about this year is that if you were to build like this, even in like last year, you're coming out of it with a lot of veterans. This year, you're coming out of it with some veterans, but you can also come out of it with RJ Harvey and Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Johnson. I mean, and you do have like a bounce back candidate to kind of kick off the range in Breece Hall. It's not like he's very old. So, and James Cook, I'm not really that in on, but he would count, as a younger guy as well. Chuba's not really that old, but kind of counts as veteran. But it's not just a bunch of dust balls that we're like, oh, as long as the status quo holds, we'll be okay. There's a mix of profiles in there, and you can put a mix of guys together in one room by targeting that range. So it just makes it like a very different draft landscape than we've been used to.
Yeah. I mean, just imagine he just doesn't play with a broken back. It's really all
sounds
you got.
good.
Although
sounds good.
I think the difference between Daniel Jones and Anthony Richardson in terms of like a functional offense, I think that is a smidgen overstated. In Daniel Jones's best season, the year that they made the playoffs, frankly, the year that just set that franchise back quite a bit. The best receiving season. The best receiving season on that team was Richie James, 57 receptions, 569 yards, 4 tuds.
Wow.
Okay, but the best receiver on that team was Richie James. So
well, it depends on your perspective. Maybe
was Ingram on that team or was he gone?
I believe Ingram was either
he was gone
or
he was definitely gone because I
don't think he ever
remember
played
that season, and I remember starting Lawrence Cager on the Thanksgiving slate.
Yeah.
God, do you guys remember how much time we put into trying to figure out who the Giants receivers were? Isaiah Hodgins and
Hodgins,
Hyatt,
Hyatt,
Shepard?
Slayton, Wandale.
I want all that time back.
Sterling Shepard.
Man,
Oh yeah, Shep.
I was a big Richie James guy. I'm gonna be real with you guys.
That's good. That's good. That's
I
the way we do
remember
it.
you put it on the internet. Like we
remember Richie James was a Chief.
Yes.
I do.
He was
Why-
like that
why
sharp
is-
pick, like you and Reeves and all. I think Reeves. I'm sorry, Reeves, if you weren't on it, but I remember like all these people that I really respect being like, Richie James, man, you got to get him. And I was like, why? Why do I need to get him?
Because he had that one 40 burger against the Packers on Thursday night.
Yeah.
When like every 49ers wide receiver was out.
Just by the way, between us, since you mentioned him, as I continue my effort
live on YouTube.
As I continue my efforts to make my WGR show that's been on the air for 22 years in Buffalo more like this. Today, Rebar. Tomorrow, Ian Hurtitz. Just saying, 4 o'clock today and tomorrow. I'm getting away with it. Is there any Dyami Brown's on my last call team? So just quickly, why?
People are not drafting Jalen Royals and Isaac Tesla and stuff like that, and they're just taking the guy they know is on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he got a bull signal. There was a beat report talking about how like they need Dyami Brown on the field because he's going to take the top off and allow Brian Thomas to work at all levels, which is kind of bullish for both of them. It's really bullish for Thomas, but it also, I think, shows, okay, if they're viewing Dyami Brown as a fixture of the offense, it's going to be him in 3 wide receiver sets. It's not going to be Parker Washington, which we probably already knew. I've been taking Dyami. Plus, like sometimes, in the rare draft that I don't draft Travis Hunter, I still want Trevor Lawrence on my team because the ADP makes no fucking sense to me at all. And then I can just backstack him with Brenton Strange and Dyami Brown if I don't have another quarterback option set up. So
and your Colts.
It works pretty nicely.
Yeah, so I draft a lot of Dyami.
I'm having such a tough time stacking this year. It just for the last 3 years, it seems so easy. It just all falls in. Why do I have Marshawn Lloyd like that? I'm trying to get Ravens, and I don't know. It's something about there's some sort of cognitive dissonance happening for me with stacking this year, where I feel like if I'm going to get what I want, I have to jump around at least in ADP, and it's probably in a $3 Schnauzer draft worth doing.
Dyami, someone said this in the chat, and by the way, I really agree. Like Dyami Brown is kind of the perfect round 18 pick in June, where it's like in August, you're going to want to probably attack running backs in that range that have a low draft rate in the contest that we didn't know were the RB2 before, but now we are more sure of it. A lot of those running backs are very sketchy at the end right now where we don't know enough information, but we do know Dyami Brown's going to be on the field. We know he's going to have a best ball favorable role. Like that's the kind of guy you take now. And then you're happy that you have, 9% today becomes 4% when the contest opens, but you've allocated those picks in a way that makes sense.
All right.
I agree. And I mean, Dyami Brown also, John Shipley had a report where he was, saying some positive things about Hunter, but also was like, Brown looks really good out there. It's against air and, maybe it doesn't mean anything, but with Gabe Davis gone, even with Hunter there, like, it's very likely that Brown's going to play a bunch. So nice to see. Because, I mean, I guess it would really be him. It's like they got to figure out who they want to prioritize between him and Parker Washington. Sounds like he has the early lead there. Yeah.
Also, look, man, I drafted Dyami Brown in a lot of 206s ahead of Amon-Ra St. Brown and Nico Collins back in the day. So, like, we got to get
This is how we get even.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, to the Fallers, Stefon Diggs is the headliner. We've been over that. Jonnu Smith, I want to talk about. Dylan Sampson, Devin Neal, Tyreek Hill. Jacob's take on Tyreek is getting traction. Jalen Knoll, Luther Burden off an injury report. Alec Iomanner and Jalen Royals, 2 rookies very near each other in drafts, falling a smidge. So today, Adam Schefter jumped back into the Jonnu Smith waters. Last week it was their talking trade with Pittsburgh, very kind of oddly specific, I thought, out of nowhere. And then today it was the exact wording was something to the effect of he will not be traded to Pittsburgh. So we're sort of maybe back on safe ground when it comes to Jonnu Smith. Any read on what happened there, or what will happen, or what's happening to his value?
That was weird. That was just a weird report. to have come out. I really, the way it functioned for me was I was looking to be light on Jonnu anyways. He seemed like the most obvious Gary Barnage of the season to me. And I kind of just needed one thing to happen. And I got it, right? Just like a slight bit of miscontentment from Jonnu or from the team or from the agent, or whatever. So yeah, like I'm done. I'm out.
So that took your 8.3 down to a 7.4.
This is actually a good question, John. Let's see if I do have. I literally have 8.2% of Jonnu. Exactly 8.2% of Jonnu. Right,
so that's a big negative stand for you. That's a full 0.1%.
Wow, Davis, are you comfortable with that? Are you comfortable with the whole season playing out and you're below 8.3?
Yeah. So the thing is like old me, 2024 me, like literally zero, like a horrible profile. All of his production came on bullshit that was a result of a broken offense. Like he is just straight up a bad pick. So 8.2% for me.
I've drafted him once.
Straight up bad pick and you're dead even.
Yeah.
No, that's not dead even.
Unbelievable.
That's the point. Is it's this below dead evens. This
Like
below.
okay, truly
Davis's
imagine.
exposure chart. We're just gonna have to like. It's gonna like show like. There's gonna be like an exposure chart. It's gonna show like my exposures next to Davis's, and the graph will look the exact same. But if you zoom in and you just see what's on the x-axis, it's like the median in both charts will be 8.3, but instead of the wings being like 0 and 25 for Davis's, the wings are just like 7.9 and 8.5. And it's like this extremely zoomed in like parabola.
These look like dots, but they're actually ranges.
Yeah.
Like imagine telling 2024 Davis that Travis Kelce goes after Jonnu Smith and you have roughly equivalent amounts. I have 13.2% of Travis Kelce coming off of 98 reception season. I mean, Travis Kelce after pick 100. Like, let's just be real. He is gonna Jason Witten his way.
Yeah, it does seem Jason Whitney.
He's gonna be the tight end 4 this year, just like so self-evidently. And you probably won't win. You probably won't win anything from it because the spikes are not going to be that high. But I mean, he's just like obviously a better pick than Jonnu.
I haven't taken much of either. I just haven't taken much tight end in that range. Like I draft, I'm at like, I think 25% Bowers and like 34% Kittle. So that obviously has a major impact on how I'm drafting the tight end position. And then I really love the range from like Ferguson to Goddard, and I love Moose
Kraft
and Henry.
Kraft.
Yeah, I don't mind Kraft. So it's like, to me, like everything from kind of that range down, I like more. So generally speaking, I'm doing more 2 tight end with one of Kittle or Bowers and then one of the late guys.
Kincaid as well, dare I say it.
End. Yeah,
although this knee stuff is
not on my teams, but he does go there. And then, even if I'm waiting on tight end, it's like I don't actually feel that much of a need to start my 3 tight end builds in that range. Like, sure, if one falls, but for the most part, like if I've bypassed Kittle and Bowers, it's like I'll just take like Henry and Ferguson and like Terrence Ferguson or Elijah Arroyo with my last pick, something like that. Like I'm okay with the late 3.
Mason Taylor. May I say, I've been wanting to get this in. This community is so damn out on Dalton Kincaid. Is it Liam's fault? Is it obvious to everyone else that he can't?
It's Liam. No, it's Liam's fault.
Is it? It's not possible that a first-round pick from 2 years ago on a Josh Allen team that has no other obvious number 1 guy coming off an injury, that 54% whatever success rate on passes spikes because they just sort of get to know each other better and he's healthy. It's so clear to everybody I listen to that is just not in the range of outcomes.
Listen, I actually kind of want to be in on Dalton Kincaid, but I don't. So the last I saw, Jeff Mueller had a tweet about this weird sprain he had in his knee, and then there was an article that I just saw the other day that said he's dealing with a posterior lateral ligament PCL sprain in his left knee and a rare Morial Lavalley lesion in his right knee. He's expected to go undergo rehabilitation to prevent chronic issues and aim for a complete recovery. This is something he dealt with late last season. So, like, the whole he's healthy thing is the part that I'm worried about. Like, is he healthy? He was shown with like a knee brace or thing, something on his knee. I'm just I would like more information about his knees.
I actually don't care about the knee. I just think like there's no evidence that he's that talented of a player, and there's also no reason to project that he's going to play full time, and he's going ahead of guys that are both more talented and going to play full time. So I just don't like.
This is how I feel here.
He's a lava lamp in his knee.
This is my current vibes. He's a lava lamp in his knee.
Okay,
I'm gonna need to know more about that.
I'll say one more thing. I mean, that's fair. If it's injuries, that's fair. But injuries are not really my point. If he's down bad with his knees, then that's maybe the ball game. But it was already decided that he was bad before any of that.
Well, he was a bad prospect, Schopp, is the other thing. So he was a bad prospect.
He was an okay prospect. He was an overrated prospect.
He had one game against USC, or else he would not have been drafted.
So it's more
day 3.
Here's all the evidence. Bad in the NFL, injured, overrated prospect, hasn't been able to beat out Dawson Knox for snaps. And then over here you have he was a first-round pick. He was never in the same, grouping as Dawson Knox. He's a receiver. He's not a tight end.
He was just drafted at the wrong time. Like if he had come out
the right team.
Year, if Dalton Kincaid was coming out this year in the way that current NFL views the tight end position, he would have been a 3rd-round pick like Harold Fannin. But he'd be
like 20. He'd be like 26, so everyone would have loved him. He probably would have been like the first overall pick. Saints would have paired him up with Tyler.
The Bills,
if he can throw.
The Bills thought.
If he could throw.
I don't know. He's just he's like their backup slot wide receiver.
I want to bet against this negativity. I am with you, Schopp. Like he's been okay. He's a 3rd-year tight end, about 1.51 yards per route run as a rookie and over 100 targets. Pretty good for a rookie tight end. Then last year's at 1.54 yards per route run. That includes the egregious drop in the playoffs. And apparently he was dealing with some kind of, I mean, come on, that was horrible. And he's dealing with some weird knee thing.
Jackie Smith is an egregious tight end drop in the playoffs.
That was awful.
I just need someone. Come on. Like, I will draft Dalton Kincaid. I will draft Dalton Kincaid today if someone can explain to me how he's going to run 75% of the routes this year.
He's Mike Gesicki on the Bills. You just need him to have a 28% targets per route run on 62% of the routes.
Yeah, that I can't do. You want to see some red zone action happen for him, but that has not happened yet. He's got maybe 4 touchdowns.
They don't throw in the red zone.
I know, because it's both things, right? What their options are and who they have in Allen. I'll just say, keeping with last week's theme.
Like, this is a math problem. Like one of these 3 things needs to happen for him to be playing a lot. Either Khalil Shakir needs to be an outside wide receiver.
Not happening.
Dalton Kincaid needs to be an inline tight end.
Not happening.
Or Khalil Shakir needs to not play.
Not happening.
Because you can only put him so many places. Either he's playing ahead of Knox in line, he's playing ahead of Shakir in the slot, or he's playing in the slot and Shakir's playing outside. Those are the only 3 options. None of them.
Well, you know what? Okay, all right. God forbid Jakob is making me defend Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
There are NFL formations that effectively use 2 slot wide receivers that have no inline tight end, that have 2 guys within 5 yards of the tackle on either side that are perfectly cromulent plays. It's a totally
those aren't cromulent plays if it's not 3rd and 8. Like you can't. You're saying like you're going to be open edge, so there's going to be no one in line. If it's 1st and 10 and you're doing that, you're just announcing to the other team that you're going to pass, which is it's fine. But then you just end up checking the ball down. That's what the Bills did as an offense when they drafted Kincaid. But since then, they've decided they don't want to do that anymore. They
6 linemen.
So on 3rd and 8, they'll do that, and that's fine. But on early downs, they're not lining up like that anymore because they want to be they want to be playing against base personnel defenses. They don't want to be playing against dime and nickel package.
A deep dive name for Davis. Speaking of the Bills and tight ends, they drafted a guy named Jackson Hawes, who is basically going to be
the old Clippers
center.
lineman.
He's a tight end from Yale. So they ran 6 offensive linemen like all the time last year. Alec Anderson was the guy.
Yeah,
This is going to be that guy that they can pass to if they want. So, that's just a name for your podcast.
I got to be honest, brother. That is not inspiring a ton of confidence, knowing that they kind of have a ready-made guy to take snaps from Kincaid.
So Kincaid, I love that Jackson Hawes played the mix with Jackson Hayes and Spencer Hawes.
Yeah,
Kincaid played
it's really good.
224 inline snaps last year, which is about half of what Dawson Knox played in line. He was at 5'11".
Knox is the third biggest cap hit on their team, and that was just a very dubious decision 3 years ago that they made. Keeping with last week's theme, I'm 6% Kincaid, and I've been talked out of him.
I only have like 3% of Kincaid, so he's not even an 8%er for me.
Pat, you have one more on this?
No, I was just going to note the inline snaps are pretty, they're light. But I think he played over 200 snaps last year in line. It's not like he doesn't do it at all. It's about equivalent to what he played in the slot. He's way below Dawson Knox. So, Kincaid was at 224 in line, 243 in the slot. Knox played 511 snaps in line. But Kincaid was like an okay run blocker last year, better than Knox, although I'm sure his assignments were generally much weaker. But that would be the path, I think, is that like Knox is not some special guy who can't be passed. Like Kincaid could get better in his third season as a run blocker and take on more of the true tight end role. I think that's your upside case. Now, maybe it's not that compelling an upside case. It's not compelling enough of an upside case for me to get excited when I'm dealing with a lava lamp in a guy's knee. What's going on with the lava lamp? Let's figure that out. That's priority number one.
I like that you know what a lava lamp is.
Of course I do. What are you talking about? Lava lamps were popular in the 90s, weren't they? They were
retro popular.
Yeah, they were retro popular.
They did my favorite podcast, Ben Explain. Shout out to Yossi Solik, my parasocial best friend, has a theory that everything about the 90s is just making the 70s cool again. And I think that might apply to lava lamps.
Yeah, lava lamps. Because I was like a kid. It wasn't like because in the 70s, right? Lava lamps were more like you were like a teenager, like in college, and you're like, smoking. What in retrospect was a very weak J, just a
young adults
super weak
like
J.
My parents. That was the lava lamp house, 1975 when I was 3.
I see.
We had lava lamps in every room. We had a lava lamp for every situation in those days.
But like,
I'll have to get one for the set next week. Get a lava lamp.
I guess
going.
My fundamental issue with this Kincaid thing is like, okay, like I guess, but you can just draft Dallas Goedert, who's going to play all the snaps and has like a 1.8 yards per route run every year, and also plays in a really good run-heavy offense, and he goes later. So it's like, why do I need to take Dalton Kincaid?
100%.
Take them both week 17. Take them both at the turn.
So my internet went out when you were talking about this report for Jonnu Smith. What was because I looked up on Schefter's Twitter. I don't see anything. What did you say there?
There's something more from him today. I got to find it, but he ruled out a Steelers trade. So after last week bringing up the possibility of a Steelers trade today.
So my take from this last week, and I think that confirms that I can keep thinking what I already thought, which is that Jonnu Smith wanted more money. And my take on Legendary Sickos last week was that this is when, as a kid, you tell your dad that you want something else for dinner, not what your mom made. And your dad goes, great.
Okay.
Make your own dinner then. Refrigerator's right over there. And then you go, actually, you know what? This is pretty good. I'm good at it. This is better than I thought it would be. I'm gonna just shut up and eat. I think Jonnu Smith
I'm such a bad dad because when my son, and I'm hoping to get him down here since you brought Vivian on the show and they're doing so again.
Good timing
when he says that to me, I'm like, let's go. Because I'm in too. Let's DoorDash.
You're right. This sucks.
She's making veggie curry. I'm with. Hey, the kids want something else. I'm in. Let's go.
Nice. That's pretty good.
That's brutal. That is brutal, dude.
Yep. I'm with you.
How do you get away with that?
I don't think I do.
Rule in our house is if someone's cooking, you're eating it.
Yeah,
Like,
That's a good
that's
rule.
just
Yeah.
that's what's on.
That's
the menu.
fair.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a good rule.
As it's been established in ship chasing, I live alone. So if I want something for dinner,
You're having it.
I'm cooking it, or I'm calling my local DoorDash driver and having it delivered. Those are really the only two options.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Anyway,
Why
I think
is,
Jonnu had a bluff that was called. I'm not worried about this whole Jonnu thing. I think it's
No.
whether or not you want to take him in the first place is a different matter. But if you're getting a discount because he asked for more money and was told, probably not. I think I'm going to take that discount.
So one idea we had for today was everybody's 0%. Who's the best, highest ranked player on the board that you're just never taking? We talked about this, Jakob and I, a little bit in the Discord. I hope you guys sort of saw it, maybe thought about it for a second, rather than diving into the elite guys, because we don't have as much time as we need for that. And we did advertise this, and we did not go through the entire history of cocaine or what happened to the Edmonton Oilers. Sort of just to cut through to players that you're just like at a flat 0. Last week, Jakob, since you're up to speed here, you were talking about players that you never see when you put your rankings in. They never show up as options, and you're probably at close to 0. What are your thoughts here?
What are my thoughts on just players that I'm at 0 on?
Yeah, like who might be a couple of the best players.
So you pitched this in the chat. I'm going to expose our backroom discussions that are otherwise subject to solicitor-client privilege. That we were going to do a little game of raising up. So I won't lead off of my top ones.
Okay.
But one guy I have not taken at all. We've discussed him a little bit, but I've been 0% on James Cook so far this season, and that gets us into round 4, and that's just like partially structural reasons, which is that I'm trying to avoid running backs as much as I can because there's so many that I want, and then there's just other guys that I like way more that go into similar range. Like I'm never going to click him over Breece Hall. I'm never really going to click him over Amari Hampton. And that kind of ends the discussion. And I think like one thing that maybe gets misinterpreted online, and it's like if I say I'm 0% on a guy, I think people sometimes take that as me being like overly confident that I think there's a 0% chance the guy can hit. That's not at all how I feel. It's just that like I'm going to be extremely lucky if I get one team into the finals. So like I would rather just make the bet that I think is better, even if I think it's not better by that much, every single time. And then I'm just going to hope that I'm right. Like, I'm not really worried about spreading out my bets in a game where I'm very lucky to have one team in the finals. So, like, to me, it's like, yeah, do I think I don't really think that the idea, I'm trying to explain this better. A lot of people are like, well, if you think something is a 60-40 bet, why wouldn't you take it 60-40? And I'm like, that's reasonable, but that's not really how this tournament works. Like if I think something is a 60-40 bet, I'm just taking the 60 side 100% of the time because I think that's the better bet. So I'm just going to make the better bet as many times as I can because I'm pairing each of those with a completely different lineup that's going in a different pod. And then if I'm right, then I have more opportunities to win that bet. I might be wrong, but we're all going to lose anyways. So to me, it's just whatever I think are the better bets, I'm just going to make as often as possible and hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although sometimes those bets are different types of bets. You know what I mean? Like, so if the profiles are different, then yeah. Because I tend to be more, if it's a 60-40, I'm going to make some of that other bet.
Completed drafts, I'm at 0% Cook also, but there's one running back above him that I also have 0%.
Josh Jacobs.
Henry.
Yeah, I'm at 0 as
Henry,
well.
I don't really take. Yeah.
0 Henry. I hate myself for it. It's like
that's my highest draft player with the zeros.
I have 1.7% Derrick Henry. So
and
are we afraid?
Scale, that's like negative.
Yeah, on my scale, that's like a huge bid.
That's Davis has drafted 600 teams and has never taken one.
I was 0% Barkley, but I got him recently at the 104, and that's actually where I have him ranked. So I gave him the old click. So I now have one Saquon Barkley team.
You see the 5 or 6 Barclays once in a while. I have a couple of those too, but that's about it. Never at 2 or 3.
All right, this is totally unintentional, and I'm going to fix this. Like literally, I might do like 10 drafts today to try and fix this. And it's just a function of my rankings, I guess. And I just draft off my rankings. Completed drafts, I only have 2.8% of neighbors, which makes sense. Well, it makes sense because I have McCaffrey ahead of him. So if you have McCaffrey ahead, and then you're mostly just drafting off of your rankings, you're one of those guys, BTJ, neighbors, whoever, you're going to be lighter on. So I'm going to fix that. Here are some other expensive guys I don't have very much of. 2.9% David Montgomery, 2.9 James Cook, 2.9 Tyron, 2.9% Chuba Hubbard. That's a bit spicy. For me, that's pretty spicy.
Okay.
There are a lot of bad picks. I just like Harvey.
Why are you out on Chuba?
So much more because I just like Harvey more, and you normally are choosing between them. And I have Hubbard, Walker, Kamara, Henderson all ranked back to back to back. So I probably am just doing a bad job of RNGing them.
Is it stack related to maybe Chiefs?
Well, no, you know what it is? Well, with neighbors, what it's related to is I am just a little bit light on him for stacking stuff. He's the only first round player who you don't know who his quarterback is in week 17.
Neighbors and Bowers is sitting there.
I think we know who his quarterback is in week 17.
Dart.
Yeah, I mean like 90% probability.
Do you guys draft Dart? I draft Dart a lot. Maybe that's bad.
I draft Dart sometimes.
I draft Dart. You know where I'm drafting Dart a ton. Dart and Daniel Jones are like the giga mega slam skeleton keys in the Superflex puppy. Daniel Jones is a 10th round flex in the Superflex puppy. Jacob, does that interest you at all?
I mean, I will never draft a Superflex best ball team, but if I did, Daniel Jones would be on all of them.
$5.
Cortland Sutton and Zay Flowers, I'm pretty underweight on. JSN, I'll put my name on one. That if I was a real man, I would have 0% of JSN. He's just a terrible fit for the scoring system. He's got like giga offensive environment risk. He's going ahead of Rashee Rice. He's going ahead of Xavier Worthy. I believe now he is back-to-back in ADP with Tyreek Hill. And sure, maybe Tyreek is like the worst pick on the board, but Tyreek has wide receiver, like leads all of fantasy football in scoring upside. JSN, like what is JSN? I guess just runs hot on touchdowns for 1 year. That's how he buries me. I feel like that is like a gigantic risk on JSN. I feel like his ADP is just clearly terrible.
I have more Milrow than Dart. There was a Scott Barrett tweet about the fantasy playoffs that had Darnold as the number 1 quarterback, something over expected value, and like that's a Milrow tweet right there. Those playoff weeks, love that possibility. What if he's any good at all? I mean, Darnold gets buried and they put in Milrow and he just goes. Like maybe. I feel like that could be something.
I think the potential of Milrow is a horrible.
That's bad for JSN.
It's ominous as hell for
Sure.
JSN.
It's like good for MVS.
Yeah, you don't want JSN and Milrow is like, well, there's always next year. That's rough.
You know what it's like? It's like having Josh Downs with Richardson. It's just like it's like maybe Richardson figures it out. Yeah. I think
imagine drafting Josh Downs in the 3rd.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I wish we could do that because I think he's probably good enough to deserve it, but he'd have to be in a completely different situation.
In 3 years, when the Colts employ like 38-year-old Jonnu Smith, book it.
Also, we'll probably be against it because he'll be kind of old then, and his yards per hour decline slightly, and we're like,
he'll be on a boat. He'll be on a boat.
He'll been on a boat once.
He'll be on a boat once.
I'll be in my 30s by then, so I'll be in my Davis era. I'll just be 8.3% of everyone.
Yeah. Okay.
No, it won't matter to you. The only reason why I have to do this is like doing 500 recorded best ball drafts in front of an audience and then having them go as bad as possible. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, really.
I mean, I once was like in a live theatrical production of The Sound of Music when I was like 9, and I peed myself on stage in front of like over 1,000 people.
Oh, I'd rather
like,
do
if you
that.
If you can get over that, you can get over anything. So like to me, it's like I don't have a shame complex.
Was this a school?
After,
was this a school play?
No, it was not a school play.
Okay.
It was called Rainbow Stage in Winnipeg, Manitoba. It's a lovely outdoor theater. And there were probably like 2,000 adults watching. I don't know if all of them noticed.
How many kids?
Like my lederhosen was like kind of like
knew?
a vaguely yellow color. How many kids were there?
How many kids
in the show?
In the show, did you like go to
show.
school with? Like, did this follow you to your school? Is what I'm saying.
Because not at all. There was not at all.
Yeah, I mean,
not a single person.
That's
yeah.
It could have been.
I'm trying to catch up. I'm trying to catch up from the Hamlet segment. Can I guess your role?
Well, I was 9, so if you can't guess my role, you've never seen The Sound of Music.
The little kid. All right. You were not Rolf. Okay,
I was actually Rolf in high school in grade 11. But
my son was Rolf, and he's on his way down. He was Rolf, and he's on his way down. So
so in like 20 years, maybe I will be Max or the captain. But we started as Kurt. We upgraded to Rolf.
Kurt. We'll have a Rolf off.
Shout out to Ghost Cards. I was born to piss yellow. That is true.
Really?
Pissed in yellow since 9 years old.
Pat,
around the same age, I for some reason I think I had I don't know what I was doing, but at the time we lived in a house where the basement was like downstairs behind so you walk down the stairs, the front door's right there, and then basically behind that you go down to the basement stairs. And I went down, and I think I must have had dirty clothes that I wanted to drop off down the basement for something. So I'm coming up from the basement and I'm buck naked. And it is, importantly, Halloween. And I come back to the front door as I'm 9 years old, my little naked body. Like a group of teenage girls were at our rang the bell to trick or treat, and we have a glass front door. So that was my scarring moment at the time. But I recovered from that.
Just quickly, my son Julius is here. We're talking about Rolf and The Sound of Music just now, and he come on, lean in. Any particular memories of playing Rolf, real quick?
They really changed the character for me when
They did change the character for Julius. They wrote it a little bit differently for Julius in his production.
That's so good.
It was fun.
You learn something new every day in ADP chasing.
Yeah.
You do.
We're doing a lot of kid chasing today.
Kid chasing. There it is. Just back from Guelph, Jacob. He and I.
Why is Jalen Knoll falling? What would the reason for Knoll falling be? Just while we're here.
I think it's just generally people are not drafting as many rookies.
Yeah, I think that's right.
They're scared.
Like it's kind of a universal slide on rookies, other than Pat Bryant. But we're seeing look at this list, right? Sampson, Neal, Knoll, Burden, Iomanor, Royals.
This is the Michael Leone. We're all trying to find the guy who did this. Why do rookies go later in June? Situation.
They're going to keep falling until they get news. If they get training camp hype, they'll move up a bit.
Everyone one day will just wake up they pop out of their Matrix pod, their eyes pop open, and they're like, "Wait, he's only behind Christian Kirk."
Yeah,
he just has to fade a perfect health season from Christian Kirk, who just was cut, then not cut, then traded for a conditional 7th.
So some of my guys, I looked at JSN, and I'm at 5%. But I was like, one of the reasons is because Garrett Wilson's there. But I've drafted Garrett Wilson once, which is one of those things where I've taken him plenty in the big board. So it's I think I've drafted him, but I just haven't. And I haven't drafted as much as I normally do to this point. I'm gonna start cranking some drafts in here. But yeah, that's one where I'm don't feel great about that. It's kind of similar to Davis's neighbors one where I'm oh, I don't love that, but it is, I guess, a reminder of how good a pick Rice is, because I'm guessing every time I see Wilson, I just goes Rice.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, what's your Rice and McBride exposure? That feels potential reason for your.
Let's see, Rice. I'm at 18. Wish that was higher, honestly. And then McBride, I'm at 21.
Rookie numbers, brother.
I know.
I have more Garrett Wilson than Rashee Rice. I just looked.
Wow.
Man, what's become of you?
I'm 23 McBride.
I have
18 Rice.
15% Garrett Wilson, actually. But I have 25% Rashee Rice.
Everyone's just Lucy in football in Kansas City.
Who do I not have?
Surely this will be the time that Andy Reid and Matt Nagy don't take the ball away.
No, this is the beauty of Rice. Like, the Chiefs can be boring, and Rice is going to work within the Chiefs being boring.
Yeah. All right, let's do our raunchy picks.
Rice
Jake
is actually a
and I
bet on the Chiefs being boring.
That was our raunchy picks.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Okay.
Unless you want to consider last call raunchy picks, which it is.
Well, yeah, it is.
Kind of
That's called a different style of raunchy.
Yeah, I thought I learned from you guys maybe the last few days that nobody says raunchy anymore. Like, raunchy's a little bit sexual.
Raunchy's sexual.
Gross.
Yeah, raunchy's sexual.
That's why I was very confused in the group chat about what you were going for with raunchy, but
disgusting, gross, raunchy, obscene.
To me, raunchy is like if I'm thinking of a raunchy pick, it's like a pick that I know better and I shouldn't be into this. And I'm kind of afraid to admit it, but I actually am into it. That'd be like, to me, like a raunchy pick. Is like,
oh, okay.
Isn't that kind of a kinky pick?
Is raunchy and kinky like that different?
No, raunchy's like overt. Raunchy's like kind of over the top. Okay. Raunchy's like a 90s, like
vulgar.
Eurotrip's raunchy. You know what I mean? Like those types of movies.
Earthy.
Who's a raunchy best ball pick then, Pat?
Earthy's a different. I think
it's the first word. It's the first word in the definition.
I almost think a raunchy best ball. I think a raunchy best ball pick would be one actually that you are really high on. It's like a stand that you shouldn't have. Like a whole. Okay, that's a stand.
No,
You're comfortable with that? That's what I would.
Is my 30% Travis Hunter raunchy?
Yes. That's a raunchy pick. Okay. That's a very raunchy pick. Yes.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. So someone in the chat
they
said American Pie is raunchy. So is like American Pie.
Yeah, American Pie. That's
raunchy.
Perfect.
And then like Eyes Wide Shut is kinky.
I think that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's correct.
I think that's all right.
I'm glad we solved this.
Seen none of these films.
Words evolve.
Film for American
I was
Pie
reading Infinite Jest for the 17th time when Eyes Wide Shut came out. So
which movie would Davis like more of the two?
Of American Pie.
I'm sure American Pie. Yeah.
Really? I don't think so. I would pick the other one. I think you'd like Eyes Wide Shut more.
I'm not sure you would like American Pie.
Yeah, you'd think it was terrible.
I mean,
which probably is.
Yeah. I mean, it's a movie of its time, you know.
You're too old for it now. You're too old for it now.
Is there any split diopter in either film?
I'll just guess no, not knowing what that means.
I don't even know what a split diopter is.
Split diopter is like okay. I mean, it's neither here nor
this isn't. Eyes Wide Shut takes itself more seriously, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's hard to take yourself less seriously than American Pie, but
right. Yeah. There's nudity in both.
I didn't have time to see either movie because I've seen Heat like 19 times, and that's like a 4-hour
you can't
movie.
In between Heat viewings, you couldn't squeeze it in. Let me
There's
just
nudity
bring
in
up
both,
one more.
Maybe not on the level of the Ponderosa Nudist Family Resort in Guelph, Ontario, Jacob, but that's for another conversation as well. Pat?
Let me squeeze in one more guy that I literally have not drafted and we've talked about before, but I just want to do the check-in on Jameson Williams, who is making me increasingly nervous, okay? I just want you to understand where I'm coming from here. I don't like the vibes. The vibes seem very positive, but I'm just like, there was a graphic that I saw on Twitter that was like, it was one of those things where it's like starting in a totally random week, not a good week, definitely not a good week that makes this stat better. He, from this week to the end of the season, he was the wide receiver 22. I'm like, that's not very high. And then he's like he's going at the wide receiver 26. So I guess you're getting a little discount on that.
You
But
guys,
you're getting all this
just,
hype,
I'm
and it's making me
begging you,
nervous. It's making me nervous. I will admit.
Where's the hype coming from? That's not Davis. Like, is there hype coming
The
from
coaches.
The
They won't stop
coaches.
talking about him.
Okay.
They will not stop talking because
Cool,
I think
guess. I don't know.
if you as a coach are trying to do some problem solving, okay, our offensive line's not going to be as good this year. We're losing Ben Johnson. We're kind of trying to reconfigure
Right.
things on the
Our
fly.
O-line's going to be bad, so we're going to have a lot of time for Jared Goff to find his deep threat.
I think you are. I think
Isaac
I would
Tesla.
I would encourage you to open your mind just a smidge.
There is like, not only do I have 0% Jameson Williams, there is a 0% chance that I will ever have Jameson Williams.
Man,
It's not gonna happen. Your two favorite players, I actually like your Worthy love. I don't have 0% Xavier Worthy. I won't have a lot, but I do take him occasionally. The chances that I draft Jameson Williams or DJ Moore this year, subterranean.
Yeah, DJ Moore is a 0 for me as well. Vibes, by the way.
I mean, he's like basically going where Hunter and Tet go. And like,
That's right.
the idea that I would take a player who has a career high of 90 targets in 3 years over two
that
top 10
right
rookies
there
in
is the
good
most
spots
fake
is
stat.
no
That
chance.
is so
Well, it's not
absurdly
fake. It's just real.
It's okay. That is lying with truth. Right there, you just lied with the truth, Jacob.
Lying with truth. So elite QB
Lying with
goes right
Truth
there.
is Davis's Blink-182 cover band's name.
Here's what I would like to propose a deal. Davis, every time you watch American Pie this summer, I will draft Jameson Williams and Jacob will draft DJ Moore. Is that a deal?
It's not going to happen.
You
Yeah.
can't watch it more than
I
once.
can't agree to that deal.
You can't watch
Like,
it.
I'm
more
only
than
going to have
once.
about 427 drafts this year. I can't soil one of those with DJ Moore.
I think I've truly watched one movie in 2025, and I rewatched Fellowship of the Ring. I think that's,
Come on,
I believe
man.
I believe that's literally the only movie I've watched this year.
Have you guys seen Friendship?
No,
but I would go see Friendship. I really like Tim Robinson.
Incredible movie.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
Oh,
nobody has
strong.
ever watched American Pie and said to themselves, "I'm going to watch that again."
Yeah.
Well,
Watch
Davis
the
can
sequel.
if he wants me to draft
I think
Jameson
every
Williams.
okay.
member of
Dune-
The sequel has to
Dune
count,
2.
Pat.
Delta
The
Kappa
sequel counts.
Epsilon
Any
have
American
said
Pie
that.
franchise movie.
Any of the sequels, like if there's more than
I mean,
one,
the sequels are
all
worse, so
counts.
that's not. I mean,
usually
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Last call.
Fire with passionate love.
Last call.
Oh yeah, I gotta come up with
Dune
someone.
2 by the Dune.
Oh, look
2,
at all these
by the
slides we
way.
didn't use.
I know we.
Or is that-
Let's go through
This
them.
show has an unfortunate reputation for being cut short. It really doesn't deserve that.
Well, it's a 5-hour show that we never seem to get to the full length. So
No, we.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if I've
Well.
already taken this guy.
Last call. So I've got a name if you want it. I'm happy to go last. It's sort of been
no,
falling
please
right
don't
for me
go last
recently.
because I need to go last.
I'll go first because mine's easy. I believe he's undrafted in this exercise yet. I can't believe I've not taken him yet. Ty Felton. Ty Felton, again,
Okay.
people just did not realize he was a 3rd round pick because he was the last pick of the 3rd round. Everyone went to sleep and was off doing something else. He's like a deep threat. Awesome. I mean, he's not awesome. He was a pretty good wide receiver at Maryland, but he just is in the nutted spot where he can just run, like he can just accidentally run into 7 touchdowns because of who he plays with. Like, what if instead of Jordan Addison getting all the free Justin Jefferson created touchdowns, they go to someone else?
Right.
So Ty Felton.
He's the new
Actually-
KJ Osborne plus. perhaps.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually do have one.
Go.
Just making sure he hasn't been taken.
It's really hard that we can't command F on this slide.
Devin Neal.
Fine.
Just fell
Aren't
into
you
the
worried,
200s.
bro? Aren't
Just
you
fell
worried?
into the 200s.
Oh, he
Just
just
fell in
did.
the 200s. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a little worried.
This man has
but,
done his
you know,
homework.
I've got
This man,
Taj
Pat
Brooks
Green,
on
has
this
done his
team.
homework on last call. You
I
can tell. Clearly, you can tell.
I
He's done his
filtered
homework.
seconds ago and said, "Oh, Devin Neal's in the 200s." now."
On the plane across country. It's like,
Yeah.
200.
Yeah, good.
Am I
Devin-
misreading this? I'm staring at this thing and I'm pretty sure I don't see Miles Sanders' name. Is he not on
You
this?
do not.
You not drafted him?
Take him.
Wow.
I'm surprised that we haven't. I'm surprised that I haven't because I have like 25%.
Yeah, I feel like I maybe wanted to take him, but didn't.
But it looks like he's not on the list, so I'm going to take him now. I think he will lead the Dallas Cowboys in fantasy points this year at the running back position.
214.
That's more of a 2025 Davis Maddock take than a Jacob Sanderson take.
Look, that's my raunchy stand. My actual raunchiest stand is 25% Miles Sanders. I think that's it is gross, but I'm proud to admit that.
You might have,
I have
me
one boomer stand. I feel like that's the only thing that maybe the chat will actually get behind me on is the Miles Sanders take, because I don't understand how Travis Hunter even has an ADP if you base off of our YouTube chat. Like, every single person that's ever watched this show live has not drafted him. But people, I'm sure, can get more behind the really bad 28-year-old running back that I take a lot of.
You said you had 25% Sanders?
I have 25% Miles Sanders.
Okay. Yeah. You have me beat then.
What do you got?
Five.
That's probably more responsible. I did a few more drafts recently, so he's up to 27.
I like it. We'll see how these slow. I'm in 46 active
this
slow,
actually is a good pick for this game. Strong.
And I will, since I'm last here,
that is a good pick.
I will not take Gabe Davis visiting with the Steelers. Instead, I will take my guy Keaton Mitchell. I just really like Keaton Mitchell. I'm not drafting Henry, and if he's healthy, let's go. It's just
nice.
There's a lot there.
Did you see the hype on him? He said he feels like 2023 again.
Yeah, is that good? That's probably good. I'd rather hear like 2021.
Well, yeah, definitely better that he feels like 2023 than 2024.
24. Yeah, that's definitely right. Younger the better. Older the better. Earlier the better. All right, there's last call for this week. Have at it, guys. Jacob and Davis, you going somewhere together here today?
No, I'm for me right after
work. Davis, you're not going to a law firm in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada right now?
No, I'm going to my work, which is talking more about fantasy football on a different fantasy football show. Although, to be fair, we probably won't talk about fantasy football on that show.
Love it.
I already mentioned about fantasy football on this show. We've talked about 90s movies, talked about
That's
Hamlet.
fair. That's kids are showing up, just quote unprompted.
The drugs in the California house scene.
There's so much. You gotta hopefully people appreciate that from us. Hopefully we give them enough football content. I'm just saying that to myself. I already mentioned before we get to Pat, Rich Rebar today, Ian Hartitz tomorrow. We've got a lot of guys you guys listen to, and I mean, if not yourselves, viewers and listeners in the fantasy space. And that'll be on the Odyssey app, WGR550.com in Buffalo. Pat?
Yeah, so as Jacob mentioned, I got an article out last week that was looking at the draft landscape, kind of a round-by-round draft game plan that I also narrate for Legendary Upside premium subscribers, so check that out. Matt Irby should have a post on the site this week. We're going to launch some rankings for FFPC. I'm going to get the Eliminator rankings out this week. Look for that. And then going to be drafting and streaming with Shady and Sacrilegious this week. Might be today, tomorrow, in that range. Got some cool stuff to talk through with them. Some announcements, some teasers for stuff that we're doing this summer with those dudes.
Very good. Go Oilers. Thanks for hockey quota box checked. Thanks for watching and listening today. ADP Chasing, Mike, Pat, Jacob, Davis. See you next week.